Breaking news. This is why Putin is hurting without Prigozhin. The Kremlin's attempts to shed light on the mystery only serve to make it more murky. Since Yevgeny Prigozhin's mysterious nighttime SUV appearance in Russia's Rostov-on-Don at the end of his brief but seismic mutiny, his whereabouts have been unknown. We have seen planes with his connections flying back and forth between Russian and Belarusian territory, as well as his rumored wigs, gold bars, and even a man who looks like him stepping out of a helicopter in St. Petersburg while wearing a surgical mask. President Alexander Lukashenko's statements from last week make it abundantly clear that Prigozhin is not in Belarus, as the deal he claims to have struck with the Kremlin required. His army isn't very good either. Instead, after liberation, a French newspaper reported that Putin and Prigozhin met on June 29. The Kremlin attempted to clarify the situation on Monday. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, confirmed the meeting's existence in a conference call with reporters. He alluded to the fact that Putin had met with Wagner's commanders to discuss their future options, and that the president had heard from them that they were ready to continue to fight for the motherland. The meeting was confidential, so that's all I can say, Peskov said. Sorry, but I have to stop there. Let's take a moment to imagine how out of this world the meeting Peskov has described sounds. That 5 days after the most serious and violent challenge to Putin's rule to date, he would invite the chief mutineer and possibly as many as 30 of his commanders into the Kremlin to discuss cooperation. This would imply that Putin flew to the southern Russian city of Derbent for a photo opportunity 48 hours after addressing assembled soldiers inside the Kremlin walls about how they had prevented a civil war, before returning to greet the actual mutineers inside the same Kremlin walls the next day. For the next 11 days, nobody dared mention that meeting. Odd, that just doesn't do it justice. This is consistent with the Kremlin's efforts to mitigate the damage from Putin's most perilous weekend to date. They're using a green screen strategy, making it seem like everything's fine at home while publicly dismantling Prigozhin's infrastructure. His disappearance is more troubling for Putin than it may seem at first glance, as evidenced by the raids on his buildings, the closure of his media outlets, the lack of audio messages, and the Kremlin's complex suggestion of a healing meeting. Putin's weakness is evidenced by the lack of visual confirmation of Prigozhin's fate. This suggests that the Kremlin has few good options available to it. Why is there no public acknowledgement of Prigozhin's forgiveness, an effort to at least calm down any rogue Wagner fighters who may have been angered by the Kremlin meeting? What does it say about Putin's authority if Prigozhin continues to evade capture despite the purported agreement he and Lukashenko supposedly reached? If Prigozhin has been arrested or worse, the Kremlin's silence on the matter suggests he is highly respected within the armed forces and therefore not someone Putin wants to be seen to have hurt or shamed in public. To destroy Mikhail Khodorkovsky's political aspirations and business empire, the head of the Kremlin had him forcibly removed from an airplane 20 years ago. Putin is under clear and present danger, but he has chosen to remain silent and delay reporting on a woefully secret meeting at which the mutineers have sworn allegiance and seem to have been forgiven. The Kremlin is currently producing a number of disturbing silences. Sergei Surovikin, a high-ranking Russian general suspected of being in the know about the coup attempt, remains missing. The Russian Defense Ministry released a video on Monday featuring Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov, proving he is still in charge of the conflict in Ukraine. Putin's apparent confidence that the threat against him has been eliminated is not reflected in these absences. Maybe the leaders in the Kremlin believe that by keeping quiet, they are showing how powerful they are by maintaining control over the situation. This would be another example of how far removed they have become from reality.